What's going on, guys?
What up? What up?
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday indeed.
Week 12. Week 12. How we feeling?
It's crazy. It really is week 12. I was looking at that earlier. It's like we've only got a couple more weeks left.
I know.
We're cruising.
It's absolutely insane. Let's start things off on a more serious note, though, guys. Thoughts and prayers go out to the University of Virginia and the athletes that tragically lost their lives. Just a terrible situation that nobody needs to go through. So, just want to shout out that and, thoughts and prayers out to everybody that was affected. Hope to see him back on the football field eventually.
Yeah, just an awful situation all around. It's tough. I mean, obviously we have too much of this happening, right? But when you see something like this, it even hits closer to home. Just some guys a day after playing game, man, that this happened to. So just all around an awful story. Like by all accounts, those guys seem like really good people beyond being obviously talented on the football field. So a huge loss for the community. And just want to wish everybody up there the best. And we're thinking about you guys.
And I've got their names here. I just wanted to read them out. I think we should hear their names. And Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry were the three that passed away. And Mike Hollins was a player that was shot, and he's still alive. And Marley Morgan was a student that was also shot. And one of those two people is out of the hospital. But, nothing anybody in Virginia thought they were going to wake up to.
Yeah, it's brutal, man.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation. So, thoughts up. But let's get down to business. Nelly, I'm going to let you lead the show off today. The floor is yours, my Pac-12 friend.
Oh, man. Well, hey, it's like I know Cervase has been gassing it up. I think he brought it up last week about how this is the spotlight. All the lights are on the Pac-12 out west. My Ducks doesn't look like they're going to quack their way into the playoffs, unless, a few asteroids hit a couple stadiums this weekend. It's that two unbelievable games. And you'll have to forgive me. I don't know the time slots on them, but the Utah-Oregon game is going to be fantastic. USC-UCLA crosstown matchup. I mean, it's going to be a points bonanza in both games. At least it looks like it will be. Utah, I guess has the best defense about all of those, but super exciting, big names. The Pac-12 should be paying for advertising to pump this across the screens. If I didn't closely follow college football, I don't think I would know that these games were as big going on, which always goes back to Pac-12 not marketing themselves well. But I'm super excited. Throughout the rest of the country, kind of a lazy weekend. I think this is the usual weekend where the SEC annihilates some terrible teams across the board, which, hey, everybody else plays them. They just haven't at this point in the season, which is, can't fault them for scheduling. Hey, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch these games out west.
Real quick, we've talked about the time slots all year about how Fox has had this weird Pac-12 game in the afternoon. Well, I have news for you. That is not a thing this week. We have, I just had it pulled up. We've got USC, UCLA, 7 p.m. Fox, and the Pac-12 After Dark game on ESPN is actually Utah and Oregon. So,
wow.
That's fantastic games to end the night on Saturday.
That's a great nightcap.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about watching Hawaii and UNLV. I can replace that with the game it's worth it.
Watch guys that'll actually end up playing on Sundays, after you watch it.
Order a few pizzas, grab as many beers as you can. I don't think there's an NFL game at 8 a.m., so you can stay up till 4 in the morning and live life like Cerveza does. A fairly brutal week last week for the Pac-12. USC and Utah came out. They took care of business. Oregon and UCLA just couldn't get things going. UCLA didn't take a lead in the game till about 10 minutes left. I've been talking all year Arizona's going to come up and bite somebody. I didn't know it was going to be, UCLA 2 games away from, a potential Pac-12 championship berth. And then Oregon just couldn't get out of their own way. They lost the ball on the 1-yard line early in the game, gave up that kind of busted play. The guy got right in between the safety and the corner and took it to the house for 60-something yards. And they blew it. And it's a big loss for the Pac-12 because not only did they have a chance to maybe get Oregon into the championship, But even getting 2 teams just into New Year's Six bowls, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of eyes on the conference. We haven't had that in a long while. They've still got a shot, but a big wasted opportunity. This weekend could be even bigger if they could have held on right there.
I do love the fact that the Pac-12's last hope is USC. Who would have thought that coming into the season?
Fight on.
USC.
That game was as good as we thought it was going to be. Number one, it's always great when you have a game that you're excited about and delivers.
Right.
So that was the first thing. But I loved Washington. I thought it was a great matchup. But man, the over, I'm so frustrated the over didn't hit because that game was just back and forth. And then that interception on the 1 yard line.
Right.
And then Bo Nix leads a drive that goes 10 minutes. I mean, it just sucked the entire life out of the over. That game probably would have been 85 or 90 points. If they go in there, it's just going back and forth. They're right down the field and they held to a field goal too, right? They didn't even score a touchdown. And they still almost went over. Like second play, Washington goes deep again. So I was still pretty frustrated that over didn't hit, but still was one of the more exciting games of the year. So I'm glad we got to see it. I'm glad it played out the way it did. But I still don't know how good the Pac-12 is. Like they still beat up on each other. There's some good teams, but I just don't know if they're like legit top 10 teams or if they're, middling 15 to 20, just a bunch of teams in that range.
That game was 13-10 at half. I still think that Utah is the best team in the conference. I've thought that kind of all year. Oregon maybe had me fooled, but you go back and you look at their schedule. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I looked back at the schedule and I was like, other than Georgia, and there was somebody else they played early, it wasn't impressive. I think it was UCLA. I pulled it up, but I was just like, it was piling on points against Cal and Colorado and all these teams that don't move the needle so much. So we'll see a lot about USC because their schedule has been garbage. We'll see a lot about them this weekend.
And I think to your point, like Utah, they play really good defense, right? I think that's the separator to me with them and Oregon. Oregon's got a good team, but their pass defense is still atrocious. And it's going to catch up to them at some point. And you had an offense that just loves to throw the ball and a really good quarterback that's playing really well. And it was a perfect storm. That's why I still agree with you on Utah. I mean, they had the tough loss early to Florida, the loss to UCLA, but even their schedule, when you look through it, they've still been pretty dominant in the games they've won, but they still have a defense that can rely on, unlike Oregon. So I think that's the separator. But we'll find out this weekend. I think this weekend we'll know much more about who's atop that conference.
And one of the things that UCLA missed this week, I think it was just Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I went back, I rewatched that ASU game because I didn't get to watch it while it was happening. And he was everywhere with his arms, with his legs, taking over on the ground. He had 20 yards rushing against Arizona, 250 something yards passing. He didn't, for however it happened, they had 200 yards rushing on the ground, but he did not step up and be the guy that I saw the week before and that had gotten them to this point. So I think it was a disappointing effort from him. And it could have just been Arizona's defense had a good plan. I don't know.
Yeah, that was just a weird, and the Pac-12 loves to do this every year, right? Cannibalize themselves and kind of have, as we came into last weekend, we had 4 teams that legitimately had, I don't know how realistic, but at least playoff aspirations. And, now it's like the good doctor said, it's up to USC.
Pivoting. We're going to pivot a little bit east, guys. We're going to pivot to Austin. TCU went in and handled business. That's what I'll say for now. They went in and they handled business.
I thought I said the Oregon and Washington game delivered. Well, this was the opposite of what we saw. Like we expected a good game, expected a good performance from Texas, expected points to be scored, and didn't get any of that. I mean, I credit TCU. I mean, we keep writing off TCU. I know Cerveza's been calling it all year. They're going to lose by 3 points in the final game of the year. Like it's just, we know it's going to happen, but they continue to find ways to win. And like their schedule has been brutal. I mean, it's just been one test after another, and they continue to find ways. A lot of them aren't pretty. A lot of them are just kind of squeezing out a victory, snatching it out of the jaws of defeat, whatever, but they keep winning. So credit TCU. I don't know if this is more about what Texas did on the field versus TCU, but either way, Horned Frogs are still playing good football.
I like that you brought up TCU's schedule. I think on one of the ESPN metrics, they actually have them as played the hardest schedule so far this year.
Week in, week
yeah,
out.
they've had a gauntlet, man. And,
how you doing, Jigga?
This past week is crazy. I mean, you look at how they, and if you want to talk about Texas laying an egg or whatever, but I mean, they held their offense to 3 points. I mean, we hadn't seen that TCU defense or anything even close to that so far this year. So if they can put that together, then that'll certainly help their chances. They don't have to play from behind throughout the rest of the year.
I had a blast watching that game. I mean, I would have loved to see Texas win, but I always talk about that LSU Bama game that was 0-0 going into the fourth. I mean, when there's defense like that, and the Texas offense was questionable. That defense was awesome. I think they had like 6 sacks or something fairly early in the game.
They were flying all over the field.
And TCU the same. I will say the receivers on Texas, they dropped a couple balls early. And then it seemed like after that, I didn't like anything Ewers was doing. They were calling plays where he was just taking 2 steps and lobbing it, and there was nobody down there. I don't like the way he holds the ball. He just didn't seem – I don't know if he didn't seem comfortable. Maybe that's just how he plays. But defensively, that was fun. To me, that just ratchets up the intensity of like who's going to break through, who's going to get it. So to me, that was a fun game to watch.
Well, I'm glad you had fun, Spacek.
I had a great time.
Yeah, I was miserable. I was in New Orleans watching that game, and I was just absolutely miserable. I was like, when can this be over? Because I was just, I was done with it. Let's slide over to the SEC this weekend. They had some interesting games. Tennessee and Missouri. Tennessee playing close. Missouri had them within 3, and then they scored like 38, 40 points unanswered. Yeah. That was something.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends that were at that game, and they got a little anxious. It was into the third, I think, where it was 28-24. Missouri came back, and then Tennessee just decided to stop screwing around, and Hooker and them just went off, and they scored like 35 unanswered, and that was that. Missouri doesn't have the horses to stick with them, and Tennessee's offense is the real deal now. Now this is really probably Tennessee's last hard game of the season, or hardest, playing at South Carolina and your boy Spencer Rattler, good doctor. So we'll see how that goes.
I wanted to take them as the lock so bad this week, but I found a different game. So I'm not even touching that game this week. So LSU, go ahead.
If they're dialed in, they'll hit that number. If they're dialed in, they'll cruise past that number.
They should.
Yeah.
How about
I was gonna say Georgia looked dominant, number 1. I think we talked about that Cerveza as being one we both really liked, and it was kind of close at times, but Georgia still dominant. Mike Leach, I think we know where kind of his ceiling is for a lot of his teams, right? I think he can do some things, but he's not going to ever change it up, right? Like he is who he is, and that's kind of it. But nice win there. But yeah, LSU Arkansas. Kind of was like, did that one excite you, Cerveza? Was that one like getting your blood flowing early on too?
That was one I did not have great eyes on.
Okay.
There was a raclette at the wine shop. They were making raclette cheese, melting it on stuff. It was a beautiful day outside. I was like, I'll miss the second half of that so I can watch the rest of the day of the football stuff. My buddy was keeping me apprised. But yes, great defense. And it was cold. And I just want to point out, whoever's on ESPNU right now, whoever's watching the Central Michigan game,
chips.
It looks like the last scene from Scarface. I mean, there's just snow all over the field. It is impressive. But I mean, LSU, they're stepping up. That's a rivalry game. That's a tough game. To me, it was very similar to the Washington-Oregon game, just with way less points.
Yeah. And how about your boys, Vandy? Just getting one more win for you, just for fun.
And you know what? They did it for free. I got nothing from it except for a bunch of joy. So, and that's, another thing with Kentucky, just continuing the slide ever since that Ole Miss game, just continuing the slide.
Let me ask you guys this, because Auburn, I obviously being an Alabama guy, I see plenty of Auburn on my social feeds wherever I am, just from friends and stuff. But are you guys buying Cadillac for head coach? Because it seems like they love him. Obviously, they love him. The atmosphere was great. He's obviously rallied the troops. But if you were an Auburn fan, would you feel confident in giving him a contract for 3, 4, 5 years and being like, all right, I know you don't have any experience, but you're an Auburn guy. Guy's obviously passionate. Players are playing for you. Do you trust that to be a long-term solution, or is it's just a great story to close out this year?
I would put it simply like this. Do you want Auburn to become the Vanderbilt of the West?
Wow.
Oh, man. Harsh.
I mean,
Harsh
honestly, like in my opinion, that's what I think when
they both have the same record right now. So
yeah, that's right. Hey, Vandy cashed that over, man. They're cruising.
Hey, they did. That was their first win in since 2019, their first SEC win. So, props to them. Man, I'll let y'all talk about it, but I think that's a disastrous hire if they go that route.
Well, I obviously worry about his coaching chops. But the other key to it is, okay, you got to do at least 4 years. How much do you have to pay him? You're not giving him $10 million. You're not giving him $7 million. Are you giving him 4 years, $3 million or something like that? I mean, does he deserve $6 million?
You got to get at least 8. I mean, I don't know what the lowest paid guys are now, but I got to think even guys in the MAC are getting
Herm Edwards made 4.
Yeah,
real quick,
made 4. You're giving Cadillac, who's done one game, 8.
I'd like to answer this question for Shane. Who's available that you'd spend money on? Go to Jackson State and get Dion, and don't ask any more questions. Give him the check.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, a lot of people will, but I don't know where he wants to be, though. That's the question.
I think, the way you look at it, the only way I could see they want to stick with Cadillac is if the boosters are tired of paying bailout money here. If they just want to say, hey, we're on the hook for $50 million right now between Gus Malzahn and now Harsin. Let's have a guy that we at least know we won't have a huge buyout on. But I think you're setting yourself up for failure there. Bring him back as OC. I mean, have him be, a major part of the program. Obviously, the guys love him. But if you turn around and you say, hey, Cadillac, we got Cadillac, who's a legend, but we had an opportunity to get Lane Kiffin. We had an opportunity to get Deion Sanders. Are you happy with that? I don't think so. I think Auburn's always been willing to cut the check. And I think that the fan base wouldn't be satisfied if they just kind of kept him.
The Scott Frost name is popping back up too.
It's going to be Ed Orgeron without the national championship.
Jeez. Oh, what if they got Cadillac? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you do risk setting the program back a little ways, because if you give him you got to give him a contract that's at least 3 years, probably 4 years, and you cannot. That's not a guy you can fire, right? I'm sure if he went out there and went 1-11, maybe, but that's a guy that you have to rally behind to support. You're not going to pull a Harsin in the off season and have stories about him sleeping with an intern and stuff. That's not going to happen with Cadillac. You're all in. So are you willing to commit to 4 years, 5 years, and just roll the dice and see what happens? And then, just talk about how big of an Auburn fan you are and how much you love Auburn, even though you're winning 4 games a year. That's kind of, I feel where they would go. Now I'd be for it as an Alabama fan. I'm fine if that's the direction they would go. But to me, I think it's a great story right now. And I think Cadillac is a passionate guy. If he's with your school, he's a great guy to have on your side, but they got to be thinking bigger at this point. You can't have another bad hire, and he might end up being a great hire. Who knows? I'm just saying you can't risk that at this point. I don't think, with everything that's going on around you, with LSU rising up again, with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, every other program in the West right now, it's on the rise. Arkansas, Mississippi State, and you're sitting there borderline seller if you don't get this right.
What capacity?
Won one game against Texas A&M.
Yeah, I forgot about A&M. They are
this?
Trash. You're right. Good point there.
What's that? Was he running back coach? What was his position before this?
I think he was. I don't remember.
Hold on, I'll tell you, because I remember
he just came out of nowhere. I didn't even know he was on the staff, and then they was him as head coach.
You asked the question I had.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll tell you guys. Let me see here.
I don't know. It's a great story, and it's a pretty. I mean, I think it's funnier that A&M loses another game and they lose to an intern, right, or just an interim coach, basically.
Yeah, so
right?
He's just been the running backs coach since 2019.
Yeah, I mean and this doesn't mean that 5 years down the road, 8 years down the road, he stays there and moves up. He goes somewhere else and is an OC. He might have that chance to come back and be that guy, but that's a big risk, and it's not even the money; it's the time.
Yep.
It's the time. So I doubt it. But if they do hire him, we should put in what we think he'd be making a year and put a bet on that if they do hire him this year, because that's what I'd be more curious about, and I think it would be closer to $3 or $4 million.
2.5 a year.
2.5.
So what Jimbo makes a month or something like
exactly.
That. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. I thought you were saying 4 years, $3 million total.
Oh no, $3 million.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna say that's pretty disrespectful, but
no, he can get paid.
Let's ride over to this pick roast real quick, and we can talk about some of these other games. God, all that.
Man. Finally,
Arkansas just got me. Would have been nice.
I mean, that was a terrible game.
They had no chance.
Yeah,
that was another stinker. Like, that was such a bad game. I was listening to it on the drive down to New Orleans, and I was just like, man, this game's miserable. I didn't realize it was going to be as cold as it was going to be with the whole frost situation. Dayton Daniels kind of came back to earth a little bit this week, would you say?
A little bit.
But I mean,
boy.
What's the linebacker's name? Gosh, I can't think of it right now. But he's the first player to have multiple sacks and multiple forced fumbles in the same game since Jadeveon Clowney, I believe it was.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, overall, I mean, I felt pretty good about last week, but you guys, Alabama's just getting too many points right now. They're still living off kind of what they used to be, more so than this year. They still have all the talent. They could easily cover their numbers if they get things together, but still just too many mistakes, a face mask, 15-yard penalty on a big third down play. Just like these things just continue to add up, and they were lucky to survive and get a win. It was a good win to go over there and win that game, but it is crazy that just pretty much every game this year, outside of the games like this weekend against Austin Peay, are pretty much like last possession games. Like, as an Alabama fan, we're not used to seeing like these kind of games where everything comes down to the wire. But so it's kind of been fun in that respect, but it's been kind of annoying to kind of watch the way like the game has progressed and all the mistakes get made along the way. But win's a win, and maybe we'll get another rematch with Clemson. There's a Clemson projection for a bowl game, so if you want Alabama Clemson one more time outside of a national championship, maybe we'll get it.
It can be intriguing. Tulane with a rough weekend.
Man, they just came out, and UCF just had their foot on the gas the whole game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
Gus Malzahn special.
Yeah, that's right. He'll get them set up for a letdown, right?
Maybe the best uniforms in the game. But
are you guys ready to give North Carolina some love yet?
You know what's crazy? Man, yes. You know what? Yes, I am.
Their defense continues to get a little bit better. Like they're still not great, and they're going to give up points, but they're making some plays when they need to now. Like they're not giving up the big pass when in every key spot. Like they're getting a sack here and there, making a big play. They still got up 7 yards per play almost against Wake. So it wasn't like they had a great game, but they're still doing some better things. But again, Drake May is still the guy. Like he's starting to get that love, but there's no reason in my mind, no matter how the season finishes, that he doesn't deserve a spot in New York with the way he's played, the numbers he's put up, and how good that team is because of what he's done.
Yeah, I mean, it's bananas when you throw his stat line up against everybody else, and I mean, it's what he's doing is crazy. And North Carolina, to your point on defense, they got the greatest name in college football with Storm Duck. Yeah. So they got all sorts of excitement back there. And North Carolina, it'd be cool to see him run the table. And I don't know. I don't know that the committee has basically come out and said that they're not even going to put him in the top 10. But Drake May, man, he's the real deal.
By the way, Drake May is getting absolutely. Have y'all seen the latest Action Network Heisman odds from DraftKings? So Drake May is still 4,000 to 1 behind Jahmyr Gibbs. Bennett.
That can't be right. That can't be updated. There's no way.
No, this says updated. Oh wait, timeout. Why did I say
Gotta be
October 24th? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
what the hell? I don't know why it didn't update. That's wild.
Yeah, I think I don't know what the latest numbers are, but he's got to be around like 10 to 1, probably, maybe lower.
Yeah, the only problem with North Carolina, this has got nothing to do, taking anything away from him. And hey, if they keep winning, they keep winning. But I mean, looking at their schedule, that might be weaker than USC's. I mean, it's just pretty pretty weak. But I mean, he's fun to watch, and he puts up all the touchdowns and the yards, and keeps them winning. That's all that matters.
He's now in third at 575.
575.
This books. So it's 112 Stroud.
That's some crazy movement. And what you said, the last one was October 24th. So it's like, what, 4 weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks. And he's shot up. So it's looking like he's definitely more than likely going to go to NYC unless Corum just has the game of his life against Ohio State, which is a possibility.
You could also get 4 invites too. That's also possible.
Yeah.
And this should be a pretty close vote just by, I don't think anybody's running away with it by any means at this point. So,
I mean, if everybody had one vote right now, who are you giving it to? 3 weeks left.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question.
You know,
I'm not sold on any one person right now. I don't.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I think a big part of it is going to be the game next weekend. I think if Stroud comes out and torches us, and leads them to a win and wins the Big Ten, I think the path is there for him to win it. But I mean, I don't really have it's almost like spin the wheel. Like who do you think?
I mean, I'm with DiCaprio. I mean, I'm with Hooker right now. I just think it's been fun to watch. He's had some big games. He's like, he's got maybe the best wins out there, and yards and points and fun.
And he's had some duds too. Let's not get that twisted.
Well,
but
everybody has. I mean,
so has Stroud.
Everybody has.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I'm waiting for that one game for I guess I kind of feel like maybe, I guess for Hooker, the problem I have with Hooker is I feel like it's been Hyatt as much as anything. Like he's been the guy that I think about that Alabama game. That should have been like a Heisman moment for him, for Hooker. But all I can think about is Hyatt. And a lot of the plays that he makes, Hyatt's the guy that you think about rather than Hooker. And it's not that Hooker hasn't done a great job. Hyatt's just been a game changer and just been so difficult to defend. So that kind of takes away, I think, a little bit from Hooker. But I'm waiting for that, like that one huge moment. Like we don't think we've had that yet. I mean, if it would probably need to be a championship game moment. Like maybe it's the Michigan Ohio State game. Probably that would be that for that one. But Drake May against Clemson, if he goes out and put those 4 touchdowns. Could be that, or if I just don't know what Hooker else can do, because so much of this is weighted into the season too. Is a problem too. Everybody thinks about those last 2 weeks, and Hooker, what he did early in the season isn't going to carry as much weight later on when these guys are playing these primetime games.
I think the Hooker performance against Georgia really kind of put him on the back end, because like we're talking about with Stroud, like he's still got Michigan, he's still got the Big Ten championship game. Tennessee's got Kentucky or whoever Tennessee's got this week, and then nobody.
South Carolina and Vandy,
they're just sitting on the bench, So I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they're kind of.
That's a great question. There. This race is up in the air right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it can change week to week. I mean, I'll ask the same question next week. Tune in.
Oh, there we go.
By the way, real quick, I just want to blast these win percentages up there. I'm now at a whopping 38%.
Hey, there we go. North of 500.
Nelly's,
how about it, Cerveza?
He's making moves.
Terrible.
I'm trying to claw back to 500.
And you'll probably you might end up getting there. I'm out. I'm just gonna be in fourth, and we're just hanging out. Locks this week. I hope they gave me 2 for the price of 1 with the points and the line. We sweated it the whole time, but it was still done. So shout out to LSU. I didn't take a money line this week, guys. So I'm done with the money lines. I'm back to earth.
And that was all about getting a good number early too, because I think that ended up getting like 4 or 5, didn't it? By the time the game started, LSU was like a 4 or 5 point favorite. So but these Wednesdays can be good and bad. Air Force, I loved it. It was a game you didn't have to sweat. New Mexico was trash offensively, and Air Force they did exactly what I thought they would do. So it was a fun one to watch. Easy one.
Oof. I tell you what, Country Roads take me home. Man, I tell you what, that one wasn't even well, in the middle of the game, it looked like we had a shot at it. Oklahoma stretched the lead to 10 and then basically just went down the drain, ultimately losing the game. We can throw that lock in the trash.
Kansas State does it again, shutting down a pretty good offense when they scored enough points to get to that over. Awful. I did awful with my convictions, with my locks. I'm very depressed. What's the next segment? You want to move on?
I mean, it just rolls. It just rolls right into it.
We gotta change the music to that. It's got to be like womp womp womp. womp.
Yeah, it's too jazzy.
Yeah,
we'll get on that brutal. Next week. Little tiny violin.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. DiCatrio, you wanna? Oh, are you ready? Do you want to wait? You ready to go?
You go ahead. You go ahead.
I got a little one. I'll serve a little appetizer because I know we're getting to you guys here in a little bit. My sad for the week, going to the ACC, going to my team, NC State. My Wolfpack, I've hung on as long as I could all year with these guys, but last year kind of blew it for me. The Boston College loss at home. I mean, I don't know. There's not a whole lot you can say in that position. Boston College is not a good team. Very, very, very below average. But you lost to Emmett Moorhead. I didn't even know he was a quarterback. He was the Boston College quarterback. Don't know anything about him, but he threw for 330 and 3 touchdowns. A freshman out of California who went to Boston College. And then MJ Morris, who kind of taken that team by storm the last 2 weeks. 3 fumbles lost in that game, and an interception as well. Overall, just a very bad performance by NC State. And and looking at the North Carolina road ahead, I think they were counting on NC State to be ranked and kind of still be that team 8-2, right? Win this week, get into that NC State game, and that could actually have been a nice win. Now, that game basically doesn't mean anything. It's not a guaranteed win for North Carolina anyway, but it doesn't mean a whole lot anymore when you lose to Boston College. So, my sad this week, my Wolfpack. It started with Devin Leary for Heisman to start the year, and here we are talking about a Boston College loss in November. It's been a very tough year for my Wolfpack this season.
It could have been to Miami.
Sad.
Yeah, it could have been.
Nelly, what you got for us?
Man, I tell you what, this is what makes me sad. It's as we look through and how fast time flies. 2 weeks of the regular season in college football left. That right there that makes Nelly sad because it's flies right by. It's the best time of the year. We're rolling into really crunch time, and we have bowl season line ahead of us, and we have the playoff line in front of us. And then, it's still a great time, but 2 weeks of the regular season, that makes me sad.
I'll hit that I'll add a sad onto that. I mean, yeah, y'all are going to get to watch bowl games. I got a free December. ASU ain't going anywhere. All right, DiCatrio, take a breath and let it rip.
Look, after 49-0 in October, I didn't think I'd be having this conversation right now. I didn't think that this Texas Longhorn team would piss me off as much as they pissed me off on Saturday. Like, what in the holy hell is going on in Austin? I thought Steve Sarkisian was the quarterback whisperer. That's all everybody has ever said about Steve, is he is a quarterback whisperer. I mean, Ben, you've seen it down there in Bama. Like, it's just – what is going on? Quinn comes out after the game. Oh, I think I'm a little too anxious. My feet are a little too giddy. I'm not getting set. I mean, you're overthrowing Worthy by 5-10 yards every time you get him open downfield. Speaking of Worthy, can't catch a football. Like, Whittington's dropping passes, Worthy's dropping passes. One of the front runners for the Heisman coming into the season, Bijan Robinson, carries the ball 12 times for 29 yards. What are we doing? This is like Texas's defense should not have been the only unit to score a touchdown this week. It's the most damning thing. And, I've talked about it for weeks now. This whole second half collapse shit is it's got me so frustrated because that's easily a game where you should look back and go, damn, Texas really put it on TCU. And instead we're sitting here like, what happened yet again? So I am very upset, very distraught, very sad for my Longhorns this week.
So the 49-0 doesn't carry weight for you. Is it
that shit's out the window now. I don't care. Like, that shit is out the window. It's just, I'm over it. Like, at this point, I don't even care. Like, if you think about it, they had 4 different people throw passes in that game. Like, at this point, I don't think we'd have beat them with what's-his-face healthy. So it's just, man, I'm over it. Just ship this season. Like, I had such high hopes for Ewers at the beginning of the season and how he played for a quarter against Bama and then how he played against Oklahoma. But after that, man, just pack it up. Give me Arch next year. Let's just move on.
It's interesting that he said that about like the happy feet, because that's what I saw. He was just he was holding the ball. I don't even know where the camera is. He was just holding it down, like he didn't have it in front of him. He was hanging out. It wasn't square, turned his shoulder. It was bad. I've been saying they haven't been giving Bijan the ball enough all season long, and like maybe you don't want to run him into the ground. You got faith in the other Robinson, but he's got to touch the ball more. He is too good. And then 4 really tough losses for Texas that were all close.
Yeah.
Brutal. And, but I guess, the good news is they were all close, and, don't do, what you did last year to Kansas this week.
Let me ask you this. Is there any reports on Arch this week is there any wavering happening? I mean, I would imagine you look at that and you say, okay, I can walk right in here and there's maybe less competition than I thought there might be, a month ago for quarterback next year. So maybe it doesn't matter, but is there any wavering on, maybe I'll just look around a little bit more before I sign that?
Well, what's funny is he was actually at the game this weekend.
Yeah.
So
he saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's bad is that linebacker that just decommitted from A&M was there as well. It's like, I mean, he might have looked at it and been like, okay, well, hey, this unit can play, but it's like, man, the offensive side of the ball, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Take Quinn's NIL money for the rest of the year. Like, I'm pissed. I'm just pissed. He got that nice boot deal before the Oklahoma game. Take it away. Take it all away, man. Make these kids earn it.
Rough. Sad. All right. I got a question.
Bring us
We're going to
home.
go back to the well. We keep coming back to the same thing. Let's go back to somebody named for me. I'm guessing Spin knows this. The 2 teams that only have 1 win in the SEC.
In the SEC?
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt?
Mm-hmm.
A&M?
Arkansas, Auburn, and Missouri have 2 wins each. Vandy has 4 total wins. A&M has 3 wins this year. That is sad. The Texas A&M sleeping, poor Aggies. This was the preseason number 6 team, and they aren't even going bowling. We knew this last week, but then you lose at home to Auburn. What an embarrassment with the team with this many riches. There was a stat I saw on Twitter. Jason Kirk tweeted it out. The only team A&M will beat in October, November, December, and January is going to be UMass, pending what happens in LSU. But over 2 months and then a couple weeks, they probably should have been playing UMass. The only win. We beat up on A&M enough. I think a few more punches can't hurt anybody. The last team that was ranked as high as they were to miss a bowl. Anybody? Any guesses?
I saw it, but I don't remember who it was.
Garrett Gilbert, Texas Longhorns, 2010. They started number 5. They missed a bowl. There was a sideline fight with the wide receiver, Moose Muhammad. I read a couple different stories. One was he was wearing sleeves because it was cold, and they didn't let him play because he was wearing sleeves. And I heard it was like a Jimbo rule. And then my coworker, that's a big guy, goes, "No, that's not what happened. There was a wide receiver team meeting in a game where they dropped a bunch of passes, and they all agreed they weren't going to wear it, and he wore it. And he told the wide receiver coach, to shove it up his butt or whatever. And so he sat down bench. So we've had that happen for a wide receiver wearing sleeves not playing. We've had players smoking in the boys' room. We've got freshmen driving, really fast through parking garage. This program just couldn't be falling on their face more. And for that, it's really sad. And I will say one thing made me laugh really hard. They were interviewing Jalen Preston, who's a wide receiver, and they asked him what the goal to finish the season out was. And he said, to piss in LSU's cornflakes. And I'm going to steal that and use that a lot. So thank you, Jalen. Let's get into Cerveza being sad. One of my top picks in honor of Nelly last week was Georgia Tech, Miami, under 44. no problem. This game is going under the whole time. There's 40 seconds left. Georgia Tech is driving. If they score, they go over. I look at my phone with 40 seconds left. Miami's got the ball. Let's kneel it out. Let's go home. I didn't even look at it again. 4 or 5 hours later, I was looking at just the battlefield of destroyed bets I had all weekend long, and I see that I'd lost the bet. I was like, there is no way. I went back and looked on that 4th down. There was some sort of unnecessary roughness penalty that gave Georgia Tech a first down. They went in and they scored for a backdoor over that I didn't even know for 5 hours. And for that, it was sad. And this weekend, the only thing worse than Aggie math is ASU math. ASU's down 28-0 at half. In the fund, we had ASU +9. ASU comes out, they score a touchdown, they go for 2. There's no reason to go for 2. Nothing mathematically says go for 2. They go for 2. They don't get it. They score 2 more touchdowns. They go for 2 both times. None of these 2s help the score, help the mathematic part of it work. They miss all of them. Emory Jones was awful from the 2-yard line. They lose 28-18. I had 9 points. I needed 11 or 10, and it just kick the extra points. You lose 28-21, or you give yourself a shot and you cover. So for Emory Jones and Sean Aguano, that was sad. Let's stay in the Southeastern Conference, the toughest conference in all the land that only plays 8 conference games, and they're going on vacation. We got Bama versus Austin Peay. We got Mississippi State at East Tennessee State. We got A&M getting their 4th win of the year against UMass, probably. We got Auburn and Western Kentucky. We got Missouri at New Mexico. LSU's playing a team with a chance maybe in UAB, and even Florida is playing Vanderbilt, okay? So just toughen up. The Pac-12 is even playing teams like Colorado, Arizona State, Stanford, and Cal. I think the SEC can step it up a little bit, get that 9th game in there. The rest of the country deserves it. Think about that extra game and how it would damage their – not that I'm out to damage their playoff hopes or whatever, but it's just another game other people have to play. And for that, I'm not going on vacation, and that is sad. And that's
Real
the sad
quick.
of,
Real quick. I'm going to switch this from sad to glad real quick. Has anybody ever seen Cerveza and Jeff Saturday in the same place?
Have you gotten that before?
No.
No, but
Get a whole bunch of other people.
Dude, you're giving me major Jeff Saturday vibes. And you know what? I'm actually picking hold on, pause. Yeah, no, I've got to pull this up immediately because I've been thinking about it for the last couple of minutes, and it's you've got the mad Jeff Saturday vibes. I see it. I see it, I see it right here. Look at him. Look, Cerveza, Jeff Saturday, it works. Okay.
I want to see does he have a picture with a bunch of hair? Because that would just even, tie it in more.
Yeah.
Listen, I got it. If Stetson Bennett doesn't work out for Halloween next year, I'll be Jeff Saturday.
There we go.
I think you should be Jeff Saturday, get you a little cold hoodie, get you a headset, because honestly, I think that's your future,
There we go. So basically, I felt your pain on those, man. Of both of those bets, man. I couldn't believe that under went over with seconds left, and goodness gracious, those Sun Devils. That was that was almost my lock last week. That one was brutal, man. I feel you.
See, even other people are seeing it.
Down
Even other people are seeing it. Spin, do you see the Jeff Saturday Cerveza? Yeah. You do?
I hadn't really thought about it till now, but I think it's spot on. Look, let the Aggies have this UMass game. They need it. They need it.
Desperately.
But my question is, are you willing to lay the 33 this weekend with A&M against UMass?
30.
No. Honestly, I'm not. I'm honestly not. I would take a flyer on UMass. I might even take a flyer on them outright just for shits and giggles.
Because what's A&M's high point total of the year? It's I don't even think it's 32, which is super brutal.
That's a good point. I think they might have scored that in one game earlier, but
UMass 31 against Sam Houston. And that is their only crazy. 30 point. 6 L's in a row. L. Just times 3 more, I guess. 6.
That's terrible, but man, that's not.
Their point total this year really is a trip. That's God bless. That's wild.
It's another quarterback whisperer, old Jimbo.
You got to think he scores as much as he can, though, right? If
Yeah,
he's got the
absolutely.
opportunity.
Help his season
Absolutely.
average, yeah.
He's got to score as
And
many
I think
points.
A-Chain's out this week, so
Oh, jeez.
they got guys out.
I might
Yeah.
take you, Mass. Why not?
Yeah.
Hold my nose, not watch it. But
I mean, that over-under could be interesting too, 47.5. I mean, is there going to be scoring or is there just going to be no scoring? Can they shut out UMass and just go under?
All I'm thinking about right now is Jimbo scoring as many points as dollar amount he's got left on his buyout. I like that witty jab at the end of that. Okay. Well, honestly, I still see no wrong here in top 5 for now.
Well, then you ain't looking.
What?
ooh,
Roll. Whoa.
All right, let's
Last
get
week?
super sexy, super serious.
Okay.
How's TCU not in the 2 spot at this point? How are they not in the 2 spot? They've had 9 extremely tough games in a row. All right, let's just go through it. At SMU, who's playing better now than they were then.
Yeah.
And they had Oklahoma, who was ranked, and they weren't great. And then TCU bludgeoned them, knocked out Gabriel, and they went as far down as they've been in a long time. So somewhere in the middle there. Then at a good ranked Kansas team, Oklahoma State was number 8. Kansas State was 17. At West Virginia, Texas Tech will give you trouble. And then at Texas, who was ranked.
That's the wrong graphic.
Michigan started with Colorado State and Hawaii. You've written your dissertation on those schools. I mean, that is not tough. They played one ranked team, Penn State. Has any other team on their schedule even been ranked? Ohio State. They played Notre Dame, who was number 5 early. Obviously, Notre Dame's looking good now, but they've got one, and then they've got Penn State. Is there any other team that was ranked? Maybe Wisconsin was ranked at some point. ESPN put something out. I came prepared, guys. I was fired up about TCU here. ESPN, put out their rankings, and they had their top resumes. And they had TCU at 4. Let's just go off strength of schedule. Georgia, number 44. Ohio State, 60. Michigan, 82. TCU, 38. I'm not trying to put TCU over Georgia, and I'll be honest. I don't know. Give it to me with no line, Ohio State and TCU. I'm probably not taking TCU. I mean, that could be a 7 to 10 point Ohio State being the favorite there, maybe even more. But from what's happened on the field, from the teams they've played and what they've gone through, how can TCU not be number 2?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to, their resume, like to your point, like I think their strength of record's really high up there, like their wins. If you go purely off resume, which the committee has shown that they can't ever be held down to any one metric. They basically pick and choose what they like and what they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going off resume, I mean, TCU could be 1 or 2. I mean, they have a great record of it. I think the thing that points to is something about the committee, they just don't like TCU. Like, they don't like the eye test. They don't like the close games. I don't know. I think TCU's offense is phenomenal. Their defense really showed up last week, because that defense can keep playing like that. I mean, they look like they could be the real deal. But it's got to be the eye test, or the advanced computer metrics don't really like TCU, which I don't know. I doubt anybody includes that. But to your point, TCU has a lot of gripes ever since the playoffs been created. It's like it's been made to screw them over.
Well, and I wonder if some of it's just like, unless it's been OU, which it hasn't been for a while, and definitely not Texas, like the Big 12 is not a conference that just gets a lot of respect. So how do you turn it in 2 seconds and just give them all this respect? And I guess on the other way, where the Big 10, I mean, normally Wisconsin's tough, Michigan State's tough, Penn State's tough. There's a lot of tough teams. This year doesn't seem like they really have that. Penn State obviously ranked up there pretty high, but so it might be hard to also ding the Big 10 for something you're always thinking. And again, I mean, eye test, yeah, I'd probably take Ohio State over TCU. I don't know about Michigan yet, but Ohio State. But again, that might just be me thinking, oh, there's Ohio State. They're always good.
Yeah, I mean, you make plenty of good arguments. I just think the Big 12 right now doesn't have a lot to support them. I mean, I don't know how Oklahoma State's still ranked. Honestly, I don't think their performance over the last month has been worthy of a top 25. I don't know how NC State is still ranked. I mean, back to my NC State, I don't know how they're still in the top 25. But if I'm Tennessee, I feel great right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you have very little on the schedule. You get to take the championship week off. You don't have to worry about all that. Like, you have an extra week of rest. You basically have a month to prepare for the playoff. I know they won't say that. And South Carolina could be a sneaky game potentially, but they basically have a month to prepare, 2 months until the playoff. So it is a great position for Tennessee right now. And if I'm a Georgia fan and like looking at them being number 4 potentially, that would worry me a little bit to have to face them as a 1-4 matchup after everything they've been through. So Tennessee's in great shape right now. I don't know if LSU will make that leap. It kind of depends, because TCU could still lose twice, right? TCU could lose this weekend. They can lose again in the championship potentially. So they could lose a couple times. Michigan and Ohio State, I think, are only losing once. I think we all can kind of agree with that. So maybe they fall a little bit. So I don't think LSU can probably slide in there. I think I definitely feel like the playoffs from those top 5 right now, I almost feel like there's not going to be a ton of shakeup. Which 4 it is, I don't know, but I think it's almost absolutely going to come out of those 4. That's just the way I feel right now. Those 5, rather.
I honestly think, like, and this is just my opinion, I think somehow if LSU pulls off a miracle in Atlanta, they're going to force them into the 4 spot. I do.
But I just don't think they will. I mean,
I don't think they can either. But, on that slight chance that it happens, I really think that they would force them in that 4 spot. And they jump Tennessee, and they jump the loser of Ohio State, Michigan if TCU's still undefeated, and we're all just going to be sitting there like, damn, that really happened. So,
Nelly, how pissed are you going to be?
Country.
Yeah.
Nelly, how pissed are you going to be if Michigan loses by a field goal at Ohio State, and then LSU wins the SEC championship and jumps Michigan?
Well, the committee's been setting it up all year, and Cerveza has had that point, is they obviously are discrediting, the first quarter of our season. And so it's basically set up to, hey, you need to win out no matter what. Like we could lose by the 2-point conversion in the 10th overtime, but I think if we lose, we're out no matter what. So I've kind of just come to terms with that with how the committee has set it up so far. But I think everyone will be super mad if LSU hops in there. Like, think about Tennessee, they nuked them in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
And if LSU hops over them to get in the playoff, that'd be crazy.
I got a question. Since when is Tennessee the most hostile environment in the nation to play in? Because I've heard that 3 times this week from national broadcasters, and it's really blown my mind. Like, since when is that a thing?
I mean,
are they the biggest stadium?
I was gonna say they're like top 3.
They're third. Yeah, I think they're third biggest.
But look, they got a great fan base, and it does get loud in there. I mean, they pack it in. If you ever been, like, the seats are literally like this wide. Like, you don't have any space in there. So it's a great crowd. Do y'all think? And I don't think this is possible, but I just look at the way the rankings are set up. Do you think there's any way Alabama can sneak into a number 4 spot? If TCU loses a couple times, LSU loses once, USC loses this weekend, Utah loses this weekend, Clemson, I guess if Clemson would jump and win the ACC probably if it got to that point. But, I mean, they're sitting at 8, and there's going to be at least 3 losses ahead of them. I don't think there's any way possible, but I would definitely just sit over here and sip this beer if anything even got close to that, because there would be a lot of venom being spewed.
That's a lot of things you just said that need to go right for that to happen.
Yeah,
I don't expect it. I think it's like a 2% chance.
Yeah, there's a path there. It would be, mass chaos, and it would be hilarious if that happened, because the committee would be like pissing their pants. But I don't know. I'd love to see that scenario shake out. I'd love to see LSU win the SEC because of how much that would explode the committee's brains.
That would explode my brains, honestly.
We were talking about 3 SEC teams in the playoffs like 2 weeks ago.
We literally were. So here's my next question in the top 10. Like, is there any shot USC makes it? As the rankings are sitting now, say you've got a 1-loss
they're only
Michigan,
at 7.
Like, you've got a 1-loss Michigan, a 1-loss TCU, a 1-loss Tennessee. Is there any way you put USC in the top 4 over 2 of those 3 schools?
I don't think they could get in over TCU. If TCU wins the Big 12, like if they lose like this week but wins the Big 12.
The reason I'd maybe think yes is think what they got left. They got a ranked UCLA team.
That's true.
They have a ranked Notre Dame team. And then they have probably Oregon or Utah, whoever wins
Yeah.
this weekend. So that's three, that's a backloaded schedule. That's three big wins. And then you could just make the argument that they're getting hot at the right time. So, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of recency bias. It's like that's, if you win down the stretch, people remember that more than a big win to start the year.
Yeah, they don't have any. I mean, again, they have Pac-12 wins, but even beyond that, I mean, they need those wins to have any argument, because their schedule right now, they don't. I mean, Oregon State's their lone good win. No offense, Cerveza with Arizona State, but that's it. Like the Utah loss, but it was a 1-point loss, so they're definitely still in the mix. I don't know if any of us think they can actually run the table with that schedule. But if they do, I think they absolutely have an argument to get in there, and I think they would love to put USC in the playoff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
be good for almost everybody. But and one last thing, just spin, like you were talking about the teams at the bottom. It's like Coastal Carolina's in the AP top 25. The next one's receiving votes. NC State, Texas is still getting a bunch of votes. UTSA, Troy, Duke, Liberty. So that's how these. Who are you going to put in? Those teams aren't any more deserving than those teams. So there's always like a line where it's like, why are we even talking about teams anymore?
Yeah.
Notre Dame struggling with Navy this weekend was a delight. That just gets back to the point that Notre Dame is an overrated sack of shit and doesn't need to be in the top 25.
Wow.
I've got a stat here. I'll try and find it on the other side, but it's something like the dogs in Notre Dame games are 8-1 or 9-1. Whoever the underdog is.
Real quick, if you bet the under on the Texas team total win the last 11 years, you're 10-1.
Jeez. There was a stat that if Texas's worst seasons over the last however many, like the worst 9 seasons were just Mac Brown's worst seasons, they'd have 18 more wins over that time.
But yeah,
people got a lot of time on their hands.
I mean, the rest of the top 25 here in the CFB. I mean, shout out.
By the way, like why let's stop trying to squeeze in the playoff rankings between basketball games. Just give it its own time slot. Just let it be its own thing. You don't need eyes on the basketball game. They're going to get their audience anyway for those 4 teams that are playing. It's just I think Kirk would look like he was exhausted and did not want to be up at 10 o'clock trying to talk about the playoff rankings last night. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Watching that was actually, I was like, yeah, Kirk definitely looks like he doesn't want to be there. Good night of action, but yeah, no, definitely don't squeeze those in there. Anybody got any closing thoughts before we move on?
Big couple weeks of shakeup. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we're coming. So. I will let whoever wants to lead off.
It's time. We're part 2. It's the main course.
There we go.
Pac-12.
Super sexy.
WTF is the question. Do you not like money is the other question. We went over how Oregon and UCLA got caught playing with their food. But now we got Utah and Oregon. And we got USC and UCLA. The winner of Utah and Oregon will be in the first place in the Pac-12. Right now, there's 5 teams that can still make the playoffs. Washington's in there. I was going through some of the possibilities. It's crazy. It's not worth any of our time. But just two big games. USC is still in the driver's seat for potentially a playoff berth. Definitely a Pac-12 conference championship berth. The conference in itself has got a chance for 2 New Year's 6 bowls. It's a big week. USC has to win for the good of the Pac-12. Go Trojans. That's, I guess, the best thing you can do on your way out when the door hits you. And good luck in the Big Ten when that is. But big weekend in the Pac-12. Big weekend out west.
Well, so a couple things on here. I know I kind of lightly touched on last week, but again, I still am obsessed with the idea of Notre Dame winning out and then jamming them into a New Year's 6 bowl. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's a world that we all live in. They're going to be 9-3, playing like Alabama and get absolutely just nuked. And so I can see into the future, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So just keep an eye on them, see if they can keep humming along. Like the good doctor said, they about lost this week as an 18-point or 17-point favorite. The other thing to keep your eye on here is look ahead week. So next weekend's obviously rivalry weekend. Ohio State, Michigan have games that they should handle easily. could be caught looking ahead. Tennessee, they don't have a look ahead in that spot, but this is a great letdown of they're fresh off of beating the daylights out of Missouri. Real like Spence said, the playoffs are in sight. The dominoes are falling just for them. Do they do what Tennessee has done many times in the past and shoot themselves in the foot, or do they keep it rolling and find their way in? So interesting week, a lot of intrigue, a lot of potential pitfalls. That's kind of what I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah, there's some good matchups that look like they would be on paper, but the games probably won't be that good. And you touched on top of the show, Nelly. Like the Pac-12 should be putting every marketing dollar they have into this weekend and trying to get people to watch these two games because they are the two biggest games by far of the weekend, and especially not only the best matchups, but also the most impact on the playoff as well. So and both those should be really, really, really good games. I know we're going to talk about them more in our picks here, but those two should be a lot of fun this weekend. The rest of it, there's not a whole lot I'm excited about. I mean, I look at the Illinois-Michigan game. I'm like, man, Illinois, maybe they can keep it low scoring enough to where they have a chance late. But then, you kind of see what they've done recently, and it's just I don't think they have a chance to keep it close. Same with Maryland. Maybe their offense gets going, but again, you don't give them a whole lot of chance. There's not up and down this lineup this week. It's probably, I won't say it's the least excited I've been, but I'm going on a golf trip this weekend. I'm not going to say that I'm going to be that upset that I'm not watching games all day on Saturday. I'll put it that way.
Spend time with your families, folks. This is the weekend.
So UConn bowl eligible, traveling to Army.
Right. Great for Michigan's strength of record. Big UConn win.
Army's 10-point favorites. So there's that.
Is that your lock? We got a little conviction early on here.
No, I just because we were going while I was listening to you talking, I'm sitting there scrolling, I see Florida Vanderbilt, and I'm like, hey, can Vanderbilt pull a rabbit out of their ass 2 weeks in a row? And then I see UConn going to Army, and Army's getting 10 points or given 10 points, and I'm just like, what? So, and then right under that, you've got Liberty at home against Virginia Tech as a 10-point favorite. So, that's just not a week to blow the socks off. But real quick, did y'all know that the Central Michigan, Western Michigan, of course, they're in the Snow Bowl right now. Mm-hmm. If you would have just bet the under on that today for $5,000, you'd be happy right now because I think it was well in the 40s and it's still 7-7.
So I'll give you a quick little story. So last night, buddy of mine texted me. He's like, weather up in the Toledo game's pretty rough. Their quarterback's out. Got to hit the under. So we hit the under. Okay, I hit the team total under too. Well, Bowling Green had the game of their life, right? And I still was like, well, it's fine. Toledo's my bigger bet. As long as Toledo team total stays under, they got 14 points heading to the fourth, and it's a 33-point total. I feel pretty good about this. Stopped watching it. Didn't realize they scored on a short 8-yard pass that went for 42 yards with 9 seconds left in the game to go over.
Was that the one where the team literally had 4 chances to tackle the guy inside the box inside the 15? They had him boxed in, and he just
my buddy said the live line on the touchdown to be scored on that drive was 50-1, and so didn't hedge it. But so this tonight, I was like, I saw those 2 touchdowns early in this game. I just texted him. I said, listen, on principle only, we got to play the snowstorm under here, and because it was inflated, I think it was 50. It got to 57 at one point because of 2 early touchdowns. I was like, no way this is happening. So I'm hoping, barring overtime, triple overtime, quadruple overtime, hopefully we'll make a little of it back. Anyway,
currently the snow out there looks like earlier in Scarface. So later.
Yeah. Hey, have y'all seen that? The Buffalo area is expected to get 36 to 48 inches of snow in the next 72 hours.
That's right.
Just absolutely mind-boggling.
I've never seen that much snow in my entire life.
Flying up to Detroit on Friday morning and projected 3 feet. So pretty excited. We'll see if that plane lands.
Detroit too? Jeez. Good luck,
pretty
pal.
Excited.
Yeah.
I'm going to play golf this weekend.
There you go. I like your weekend better.
Okay, let's move on. Cerveza, I know you've got a conviction out there.
I gotta admit, guys, like last weekend was awful.
Oh, don't let it shake your
I don't want to
confidence,
open
pal.
up I don't want to open up the website. I got a bookie looking for me. I don't even know how much I own or where I'm going to get it. All right. Like, it was so terrible that, like, I was just looking at picks. I was like, I don't know what I can give the people.
He's in hiding.
Something that I am in hiding. Something that I'd written down earlier when I was looking at some plays was that Tennessee minus 22 against South Carolina. So maybe, I mean, they should, based on their cornflakes,
That needs
if you will.
stop points.
That maybe that A&M under, if you think maybe that A&M under 47.5, if you think they're still not going to score. But the one that I wrote down on my official sheet here, again, I don't know that I like it, but the last couple of weeks we've been dealing with conference favorites on the road favored by 7.5, and I found it. And we're going back to West Virginia, where they got burned on it last time, and it's Kansas State at West Virginia, 7.5. So if you just want to think that this is a tricky number and something's always going on, and there's like a conspiracy going on in Vegas, West Virginia plus 7.5 with the least amount of conviction I can possibly give you. That's all.
Real quick, this official sheet, is it super, super serious and super sexy?
It is just standard white sheet of paper with black.
Wow, I mean, that is super serious in my opinion.
Oh, it's not as sexy.
That's bright white.
That's fair. It's very serious.
It's like cardstock.
Yeah, it's like a tuxedo, but just on paper, black and white.
Listen, Cerveza, you only lose when you quit, pal. Okay,
that's right.
That's the only time you lose.
I just need a break or.
Fair enough. We all get into that spot at some point in the season. I got a few for you tonight that I like. Oklahoma State. This game not even good enough to be on our picks tonight of top 6 games of the weekend, but here it is. Oklahoma State's getting 7.5 points, and Oklahoma, they haven't shown me anything this year to make me think they can blow out a team. Now, I've been critical of Oklahoma State's defense for a while, and for good reason, but I still think like Spencer Sanders came back, led the comeback over Iowa State last week. He said he's playing this week, seems determined, seems to care a lot about this game. He's gonna probably be the best player in the game, right? I think. I just think getting 7.5, I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable with that. Like, I don't think Oklahoma's going to blow them out. They could. They absolutely could. If the offense is rolling Oklahoma State's defense and Sanders gets knocked out, there's a lot that could go wrong. But I just think Oklahoma State is good enough to make this a really good game and have a chance to win even. So I never like fading a ranked team or fading a team that's a 7.5 point favorite over a ranked team, an unranked versus ranked. It's kind of an ugly spot, a little scary spot, but still, I like Oklahoma State this weekend. Fresno, Mountain West, going back to the Mountain West. I love the Mountain West this year. I mean, I don't think anybody loves the Mountain West more than I do. I just don't think there is this year. But going back out there this week with so Fresno State first. Fresno State, Jay Kaner. We got the over team total last week. Beautiful late cover on that one. They got another game this weekend against Nevada. Bad Nevada team that's gone away from the quarterback known as Broomstick that we referenced earlier this year. He's out. He only brought him in on third downs. They hand the ball off, and I still think he messed that up. But last week they were atrocious. Fresno. I think the weather's going to be cold, but it's going to be no precipitation, no wind, which is a lot of these Mountain West games you got to pay attention to. I don't know that I'm going to take the number, but 38.5 is the team total right now. I think Fresno and Jay Kaner continue the offense and keep it moving and probably get a lot of possessions with the way Nevada moves the football. So I like them to keep it going offensively and go team total over the 38.5. And then Air Force, our good friends Air Force, who we rode with last week for the lock. We're not a lock this week, but we still like what they bring to the table. Their matchup this week. And again, it's another one where style of play obviously is going to be a big benefit, but it's just you're going against a team that can't move the football in Colorado State. I know you guys know how bad Colorado State has been. I think we even talked about it on the show already. I'll give you a couple stats of how bad they've been, and I wanted to use these early in the year because they were even worse. They've actually had a better last couple of weeks. But you look at 2 stats specifically that I saw this year that blew my mind. First, third down conversions this year. They played 10 games. Colorado State has 28 third down conversions in 10 games. They average 2.8 third down conversions a game. Okay. That's
incredible.
number one. That's up from where they were a couple weeks ago when I almost pulled these stats out on you. The other one is red zone conversions. Colorado State's been in the red zone. Again, 10 games. They've been in the red zone 21 times in 10 games. Okay. They averaged 2 red zone trips a game. Now, that's bad enough. They scored 10 times in the red zone in 10 games. They have 10 red zone scores in 10 games. 4 of those are touchdowns. They have 4 red zone touchdowns in 10 games.
God.
It gets worse the more you break it down. So, and again, that's up from where it was. Like, they've had a couple good games. They're up to 28.5% field goal percentage, 47.5% scoring percentage. So Colorado State, bottom line, is just atrocious offensively. Somehow they moved the football. Like, their numbers haven't been awful the last few weeks. They just can't score. They obviously don't extend drives. They can't finish off drives. And Arizona State, solid defensive team. They should just pound them into oblivion. I like the 22. It's still a little bit high because Arizona State Air Force is Arizona State in my head. Air Force.
Like, we're gonna beat the pants
spots.
off of Colorado State.
You would if you were in that game.
Give me a win, baby.
So I just think it's just a bad team offensively. Won't score a whole lot against Air Force, and they'll just keep pounding them. So I don't love the 22. It's not good enough to be a lock, but I still think their Air Force kind of rolls with that one. So those are the 3 that I really like this week. I got another Mountain West special for my lock tonight. So I'm touching that conference all over.
And this is why they should allow every team in a bowl. Who doesn't want to see Colorado State and Texas A&M December 27th somewhere in Nebraska? Right? Not what we all want.
What's even worse, though, is Colorado and Colorado State don't play this year. If there was one year to have those 2 teams play, it would have been this year. I mean, how great would that game have been? To the bottom, probably 6 teams in football.
Yeah,
squaring off.
Guys, I got a question.
I would have watched.
437 fans at Mile High Stadium or whatever it's called.
All right, I got a question. So, we went with that historically low Iowa, total earlier this year. Have y'all checked the total for Iowa, Minnesota?
I saw it was like 34 a few days ago.
It is 32.5.
It could be one of Nelly's convictions. He loves a Big Ten under.
Nelly, if you don't bet the under on this,
I can promise you this, good doctor. I'm betting the under on that. I just don't advise anybody else to either watch that game or put hard-earned money on anything to do with that game.
I just can't believe that wasn't one of our picks of the week. Honestly, like I feel like we got shafted here because didn't we pick
fell under the radar?
Didn't we pick 35 last time? Like, come on, guys, we should have had this. But no, that's just I was scrolling through my conviction of the week. Hammer the over.
Probably a snowy game there too.
They were saying cloudy and 32, so I don't know. So that's just
there we go.
On an ice rink, I guess.
Yeah, that literally.
All right. Well, hey, piggyback off the good doctor. He's talking about last segment here about those UConn Huskies. And I love them getting 10, depending on where you see it, 10.5 against the Army Black Knights. Let me give you a couple items here. If you can believe it, UConn this year is 9-2 against the spread. One of the best covering percentages in the country. Shocking. Jim Moores, the fighting Jim Moores, he's got them rocking and rolling over there. Now, worried about the letdown spot coming off of the biggest win in the last 20 years for UConn, 10 years probably, I guess, since they went to the Fiesta Bowl in that time frame. But a couple things to look at. The rush defense isn't terrible. It is actually 13th in rush efficiency. That's a little fancy stat. The traditional stats aren't as kind, but 13th up there. Army defense is terrible in all facets of the game. Pass defense, rush defense, everything. UConn is middle of the pack rushing. I just think it's too many points. I think UConn finds a way to cover that in there. I'm a big believer in Spen preaching the gospel of fading bad defenses. Army's defense is atrocious. So UConn catching 10. If you get 10 in the hook, that's a thing of beauty. Other one on here. Spen's NC State Wolfpack. I'm super sorry, but I got to go against them this weekend. It's one of those hinky lines where Louisville, NC State, I don't know why they're ranked, but they are ranked, are 4-point underdogs going to Louisville here. Couple things to look at. Louisville is actually 4-1 against the spread last 5 games. NC State is 1-4 and is seemed to be in a free fall right now. So feel really good about that one. It's a weird one, hinky line. Money's pouring in on the other side of it. Jump on Louisville. Last one here, Clemson. The Clemson Tigers, the Good Doctor's boys, are hosting also his boys, the Miami Hurricanes.
19 and a half?
Miami is a train wreck. Mario Cristobal this week, actually at a press conference yesterday, came out and said that players' parents need to stay out of his business, and if they continue to do so, he's going to kick their kids off so they stop dealing with him. So it is a fiasco situation down there. Miami is 2-8 against the spread this season. You're talking about a horrific offense, a bad defense. It's coming into Death Valley. That's a lot of points. They're going to smoke Miami. So those are the three I got for you.
What has Clemson won with much? What's it called? Have they beaten anybody by 20?
With much conviction? Let's see here.
Have you watched this Miami team the past few weeks here?
No, I've done everything I can to not.
This is a get right spot for the Clemson Tigers. They're gonna try and claw their way back up. They're trying to earn style points to get back into this thing. This Miami team's terrible enough. It's more of me fading Miami than believing in Clemson.
Oh, sure. Louisville's biggest win, in the last 2 months is 15. They beat Georgia Tech 41-10, but that was when Georgia Tech's come a long way since then. Louisville 31-16 last week. So, and another one we're thinking about is Kansas a 9-point home dog to Texas?
I had my eye on that one too. I wasn't brave enough to pull on it, but that is a weird line.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's weird. I mean, I guess the ratings love Texas. I haven't understood it all year, but
I'll give you one more that I totally forgot about. North Carolina, Georgia Tech. Points. Again, we're just going to go points. I know that last week didn't go over, although it looked like it was well on its way.
Felt good about it, yeah.
Yeah, North Carolina didn't have a big second half scoring wise, but this week it's Georgia Tech. I don't think you're going to see North Carolina have any problem scoring. The total is 63. I personally probably like the North Carolina team total of 41.5 right now a little bit more. I see them getting into the 40s without a whole lot of issue. Again, like the other kind of factors, like they have to make a statement. I don't think they're in the mix for the playoff, but the only way they're even going to be in the conversation is that they have as convincing wins as possible. And for them, it's tough to do because their defense. But I just look at Georgia Tech this year. They're the second worst defense in the conference. Okay, slightly ahead of North Carolina. So they even gave up 350 yards to Miami. They're going to get hammered, I think, this weekend. So I like both teams to score though, because I think Georgia Tech will still find a way to get points. They've been moving the football okay the last few weeks too. So. I like the over in that game for sure, and probably the team total for North Carolina as well. So one more I'm adding to the list.
There we go.
Points, baby, points.
Hey.
Points are fun.
Do you have one, Doc? No.
The over. Oh,
that's right. I got one question then for you, Nelly. So Michigan, Illinois, 40 points. 40 points seems like a lot.
Man, I'm really tough on this one, and I know we're going to dive into that game in a little bit here, but it's like, nobody watched that game. That game's going to be so boring. It's going to be so ugly. It's a really, really good defense and a pretty good defense against two teams that are going to be hell-bent on just running it right up the middle.
Right.
If I had to take it, I would lean under on that because that's going to be an ugly, nasty game. It's probably going to be in the snow. So I'd almost jump on. If you're going under, I'd almost jump on it now because I think it's going to keep moving down.
Because to me too, it seems like Michigan's just going to say, let's just get a lead and let's just get through this game and get on to next week. Like we don't need to show anything if we don't have to. Let's run the football. Let's get out of here. And again, Illinois, I think they've been having trouble scoring. They're playing one of the best defenses they're going to face all year. I just don't think it's going to go well for them. So I was surprised that number's in the 40s. Although Michigan could probably score 40 on their own, I think that's the thing gets your risk there. But I don't think there's any motivation for them to make a statement this week.
It'll be very vanilla
against Illinois. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, y'all know about more than this than I do. We're starting off. Hey, we get a little Thursday game. We haven't had one of these in a while. SMU traveling down to New Orleans to take on the Fighting Green Wave. I don't know about you boys, but after Tulane's performance this weekend, I'm rolling with Mordecai and the boys.
Ooh,
Give me SMU
Tanner.
3.5. Nelly, who you got?
Whew, man, this is so. I feel like I have a pretty good feel on the rest of these, or at least know what direction I'm going here. This one, I'm super excited. I'm glad this is a Thursday like standalone game because this one could easily get lost in the shuffle on a Saturday and like not get to watch it. But I think it's going to be a fun one. Tulane's defense last week notwithstanding has played really well this year. I think they're going to look for a bounce back. Tulane is still a top 3 against the spread team this year. They're 8-2. They've been really good as a home favorite. They've been really good as a favorite the past few years. So I don't love this pick, but I'm going with Tulane.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like this is probably the one I feel maybe least confident in, but I just look at the kind of the series history here. SMU's won 7 straight, but all the games in New Orleans have been really good games. Last time, a couple of years ago, was a 3-point game. 2018 was a 4-point game. 2016 was a 4-point game, and our last win was in New Orleans. So Tulane has been dominated in the series, but they've been pretty good at home against SMU, and I think they have a better team this year. So I'll take that, and they have a ton to play for. We're still playing for that top group of 5 spot in the rankings, trying to jump UCF. So a good chance here this weekend. So I'm going to go with that. I don't love the 3.5 necessarily, but I think Tulane, I'll take them and take my chances in New Orleans, Cerveza's favorite city.
Absolutely. Right. And I got good news for DiCatrio. You've had a rough year picking. You're going to get this one, baby. I'm taking the ponies.
There we go.
SMU. We're paying everybody out legally now. I just think I'm playing a number. I'm also playing the fact Tulane off a tough game, a heartbreaker, not quite a dream crusher. They can still get into the AAC championship and have a lot to play for, but I think they have Cincinnati next week. So it's like you've got the past was a problem. The future is going to be a little bit of a problem. And SMU has just been playing lights out the last couple of weeks. Not too long ago, they were scoring 77 points on U of H. So I'm really playing a number. I don't feel super good about it. At least they're going to be in the right city to drink their sorrows away. I recommend the Sazerac Bar or the Carousel Bar. Yeah,
there we go.
You
got it all.
You got it nailed on the head there. Heading up to Big Ten country, Illinois, getting 17.5 at the Big House. There's no shot that Illinois doesn't cover. Whatever. Michigan's rolling. Michigan's going to be covering, so that's what I've got there. Nelly, I'm going to follow you because you are the Big Ten guy.
Yeah, that at the point I was making when we were in convictions there, nobody watched this game. It's going to be ugly. It'll probably be snowing. It's going to Michigan's goal in this game is just to sit on them and just run the clock out. Chase Brown's a little banged up. What's crazy about this game is that even a few weeks ago, I would have expected this line to be somewhere between 7 and 10, but Illinois seems to be in a little bit of a free fall here, kind of losing their sorts. Chase Brown's banged up. Defense has been extra leaky. Offense has been scuffling. That's a lot of points, but I'm going to take Michigan at home just because I think they're going to get out to this. This is going to be a 14-0, 14-3 game at halftime. It's going to end up being like a 24-3 final. It's just going to be an ugly, nasty game, but I think Michigan does just enough to cover the number. They've been really good as a home favorite and really good as a favorite in general in the past 2 years.
I'm with you. I was definitely going back and forth. I think I was waffling on all these games more than I have on any slate all season long. But y'all said it, Nelly. You just said it. I mean, Illinois, they've just been struggling, and I think Michigan just overpowers them and does enough to get a little distance, maybe winning by 3 touchdowns or so.
Yeah, I like first quarter Michigan -6. To your point, Nelly, I think they kind of jump out early and just kind of sit on the ball. So I like them to have a 7-0 lead after the first quarter, even 10-0 potentially. I just don't think Illinois scores early in this game. They might not score much at all in this game period. So I don't love the number being as high as it is because it could easily be one where Illinois tacks one on late in a 24-7 game, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but I've got Michigan for the pick tonight. But I'm leaning with you on that, Nelly. Maybe an early play in this game, first quarter, maybe even first half potentially. But I like first quarter a little bit more.
There we go. Well, hey, we gave him the kiss of death, and we'll see him. We'll see him drop it here this week ahead of Ohio State.
Yeah,
4D Gins on Michigan means Illinois is covering it, folks.
TCU traveling to Baylor. TCU 2.5-point favorites on the road. Baylor's starting to slide. They've been sliding. Give me TCU and the 2.5 on the road. Cerveza, what you got?
Yeah, we're just all we're gonna have the same picks the whole way through. Give me TCU. One thing I like about this is if TCU would have creamed Texas last week, maybe they'd be a little big for their britches right now, chest puffed out. I think having a tough game, having to fight for that one is going to keep them hungry, going to keep them humble and grounded and know what they have in front of them instead of just riding super high with a 40-point victory or something like that. So this is not when TCU loses by a field goal. It's going to be against Iowa State or somebody else in that championship game. But give me TCU. I'll lead the points.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm not going against TCU right now until that last game of the year. I just feel like right now they're finding ways to win. The spreads, they're not getting a lot of respect in the point spreads. I know they're on the road, and you kind of feel like they're going to get caught up at some point, and we might look back next week and say, you know what, we're idiots for thinking Baylor wasn't just going to go in there and take care of TCU. We knew it was coming at some point. Should have been last week, but I just don't think Baylor's a good team. They've been playing better, but last week was not their best performance. Their defense is okay, but it's not. I don't think it's good enough to quite slow down TCU. So I like TCU to go in and win again and just kind of keep this story alive.
Man, this is another one where it's like to your point there, Spend, is like I've been a huge TCU fan. I was a big believer. I bet him big last week, but this line this game screams to me this is where they stub their toe, and maybe I think they'll eke one out. I was hoping this would be up to 3, but the line feels kind of weird and tight. A couple things on here. Baylor's been really good as a home dog, 11-4 for the past decade here. Their defense has been forcing more turnovers as of late. Here's a fun stat for you. Baylor 5-0 when they were able to run for 170 or more. TCU's given that up 3-4 times this year. So outside of those times they've given up, they've stuffed it out. So I think it kind of comes down to if Baylor can run the ball even a little bit, they'll keep it close. I'll be the outlier on this one. I'm taking Baylor.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna have outliers every now and then.
Not too
Georgia
much.
going to Kentucky. Give me Georgia in the points. I don't think Kentucky stays close. Ben, what you got here?
Yeah, this is another one I'm not going to overthink. I'm not going to fade Georgia at this point. It's much like last week. Like the number's still kind of high. Again, I wish it was under 21, but I just don't like Kentucky. They're not the same. They're not as good as they've been the last couple of years. They're not a bad team. I think Levis is okay, but I just don't know what everybody sees in Levis.
Yeah,
I just haven't seen that question. I don't know.
To me, my mind is blown that he's still projected to be the number 2 overall pick in the draft, ahead of Bryce Young and ahead of a bunch of other guys that have performed really well. He's got some skills, but I mean, I think this Georgia team's legit. I think this Georgia team is still on a mission to do, like every week. It's like, look, you can slip up. You got to stay humble. We have to play this game that's ahead of us. Like Kirby's cut from that same Saban mold, and that like you don't overlook anybody. And we saw it last week. I think this Kentucky team similar to Mississippi State in that like they're not going to do anything offensively that's going to really worry Georgia too much. And I don't think Georgia has any reason to take their foot off the gas right now. Like they don't have a whole lot ahead of them next week. So this is like the last kind of game to make a statement. I don't think they're going to need that statement game when the playoffs roll around, but like nice to have one more like convincing win to kind of stick in your pocket. I just don't think Kentucky's going to have much luck scoring in this game. So I don't love the number, but I can't go against Georgia is basically what this comes down to.
Basically,
Kentucky, I mean, they've been shaky since, like I said earlier, they lost to Ole Miss. 9 points through 3 quarters against Vanderbilt doesn't bode well for the train that's coming in Georgia. You said everything. It's just a continuation from last week. I'm not fading them. It's a little more points than I'd like to give up. But like you said, they know what to do. They've been here. Nelly was talking about the look ahead. I don't think anybody's looking ahead to Georgia Tech right now. So keep it in front of you. Go to Lexington, 31-7, 31-3. Assuming math's good, and get the win. Yeah, cash it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's another one, straight line. I guess we're either all in for a good week or a bad week here, huh? Because I got Georgia rolling. They've been really good as against the spread on the road. They've been really good as a road favorite. Kentucky hasn't scored 30 in 6 games. I don't know if Kentucky will score until Georgia decides to let them in this game. I think Georgia will get out to like 31-3, and they'll just sit on it and keep it moving. I don't know. I think Kentucky's going to get smoked in this game.
Hi. USC, UCLA, the crosstown battle of LA supremacy. Fight on, boys. Caleb
Very
Williams
excited.
Statement game. USC rolls, spin. Let me hear the other
USC
side,
rolls,
because I know you're about to tell me DTR is about to go wild. I'm waiting on it.
Did you just say USC rolls? Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, no, that's 100% what I said. USC rolls.
Okay, well, you want to hear the other side? I'll give you the other side. Look, I think UCLA is a slightly better team, just slightly overall. I think they care about this game more. Just from some of the comments and just from what DTR said this year, I just feel like they care a little bit more about this game than USC does. Again, like I don't have a ton of confidence. I'm kind of like where Cervais has been. There's not a lot that I love out of our slate this week, but I just think UCLA is a slightly better team. They had a great performance last year, right? Dominating win, 62-33. Remember that performance last year? I know different personnel, different coaches. I get that. But even go back to a couple of years ago, 2020, they had like UCLA had USC beaten in that game. Gave up 20 fourth quarter points and lost by 5. Got outscored by 17 in the fourth quarter. So Chip Kelly, and that was a year too where USC was undefeated when they played. They were ranked 21st. UCLA wasn't a great team. I'm just saying all that to say that I think that Chip Kelly's kind of got he's been in a good position in this series. So I like him to continue that on. I think this should be a great game again. Like I didn't even pay attention to the over in this game when we were picking it. This a lot of points, but this still feels like one that could turn into that. Just every 5th play turns into a bomb. So I'm looking forward to this one. But I'm taking the points. I'm taking USC. They got the Rose Bowl lit up and like that baby blue and the gold. Like they're ready to play. And there might be like 1,500 fans there. But they're going to be fired up for this matchup. So I'm going to roll with the Bruins, man. Let's go.
Nelly, what you got?
Man, I'm with you, my brother. All right, so couple things for you here. UCLA is 4-1 against the spread after a loss, dating back to last season. USC defense, specifically their rush defense, is horrific. Bottom 15. You don't want to see that going up against Charbonnet, former Wolverine, shout out, and DTR. This one's going to be back and forth. It's going to be tight. UCLA sold out. So fun fact, the Rose Bowl seats, I think it's 91,000. And UCLA has a home sellout with 70,000. So it's sold out with 70,000 filling up that 91,000 stadium. So, but I think Travis Dye is out for USC too. But taking the Bruins.
So I just got news that UCLA sold out the Rose Bowl, so there will be 50,000 USC fans there. I'm not gonna lie, I keep going back and forth on this, and I don't think I'm on USC right now, and I think it's probably just because, like, deep down, I just want them to win and give the Pack a chance. And I wouldn't be surprised if I'm feeling UCLA come Saturday. I mean, UCLA can run the football. Like you said, USC's rush defense is bad. Both teams' defenses are bad. Both teams' quarterbacks are good. I agree with you, Spend. If UCLA is the slightly better team, I think. Coaching edge. So with all those things I just said about UCLA, I'm going with USC. I'm back and forth on it. It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
I like it. Hey, this game's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, this is the game I'm most looking forward to this weekend.
I have to convince 20 people at somebody's 40th birthday party to put the game on.
Just make it happen. Utah heading up to Oregon. 3.5 points on the road. You know,
Awesome.
If you'd have asked me at the beginning of the year, I'd have said there was no way Utah was getting points in this game because, you know, I was high on Utah. I mean, I still think they're a good team, and I still think Bo Shits is Bo Shits. But, you know, give me Utah and give me the points. Nelly.
Man, it's you know, us brave quackers out here, us believers, we love our Ducks, and we got to stick through thick and thin. Last week I did go against them for the Washington pickup. I'm back on their train here for a couple of reasons here. So Oregon, you know, they're 4-1 against the spread last 5. They've been really good following a straight up loss. Utah has kind of struggled on the road. They're 2-2 straight up, 1-3 against the spread on the road. Cam Rising, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks on the road, hasn't been the same guy. So I think in Autzen, I think a night game, I just think it's set up for Oregon to. I wish that this was not 3.5, but I'm gonna take the Ducks.
Yeah, I'll go. I went back and forth on this one. I had to double check to make sure what I sent over EJ, what pick I sent over to him, because I wasn't too sold. But I sent him Utah. So let me tell you why I like Utah.
There we go.
And I look back to the series history of this too. I thought it was interesting that Utah is not. I mean, not a lot of teams have success up there, right? But Utah has not had much success up there at all. They've won twice in Oregon in 47 years. Now they haven't played up there every year in the last 50 years, but they've only won up there twice in 47 years. So it doesn't happen very often for them. It's only the first meeting up there since 2017. So again, they don't play up there a ton. This obviously is a huge matchup because of what the recent history has been between the two of the last 3 Pac-12 championship games between these two teams. But I kind of feel like it's going to be a lower scoring game. Like, to me, I think like the matchups, what each team does well, I think like it kind of favors to me a little bit of a lower scoring game. And I think Utah, again, I think they'll control that with their defense. And I still think they have the better quarterback too, right? Like, I know that the Knicks has been really good this year, but I still trust Rising a little bit more in these bigger spots. I don't think like Bo Nix has played pretty well, but I don't quite trust him in the bigger spots as I do maybe Rising. So I'm going to lean on the defense and Utah in this game to go up there and pick up a very tough win. Like if they get out of this with the win, I think they've really earned it, but I'm going to roll with them against Oregon. I'm going to fade the Ducks here down the stretch to maybe kind of come back to earth a little bit because, again, I think the early season stuff after Georgia was a little bit inflated in terms of who they play and how they look. So I'm going to go Utah, just a better team overall.
And I'll take the coach's edge. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, we knew it was going to come down to this game at the end of the season. Utah with the roller coaster, but again, coming into the season, I thought they were the best team in the Pac-12. So I'm going to not put my money where my mouth is because we don't have to put money on this and take the points and go Utes.
There we go. It's going to be a fun game too. I'm excited about this one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Little recap of the picks. Cerveza. Somehow me and you have identical picks, which means that this probably will end up being the best week I've had so far.
That's right.
If we just follow the
super sexy and super serious.
Yeah, if we just follow the trend of Cerveza here.
Nelly's going to give himself a chance to catch me this week.
Yeah. We got a couple of shots there.
Could all happen.
So let's slide on over last segment of the night. Locks. Finally got off the snide last week.
Spin, man, keeping the reign of terror.
He is.
Yeah, baby, keeping it alive.
Cruising.
It's been a great year. If I would just play my lock and just leave the rest of the games alone, be having a great year. But I don't have that kind of discipline, unfortunately.
Cerveza. I like it. I like how this is. Spins came all year with games that nobody will not. I'm not going to say nobody. Somebody like myself would never even look twice at. Like I think that's been the most fun.
Doc.
Oh, you got another one for me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go with our locks of the week.
A lot of favorites. We love the favorites.
We love the favorites this week. Ooh, I see a Liberty, Boise State.
Ooh.
Real
that on the
quick.
Smurf turf?
No, it's not.
Oh, wow. On the road. Nice.
Real quick, I'm just going to start off real quick, real short, real sweet. Give me Kiffin in Arkansas. I don't care what the conditions are. Give me the Land Sharks, Ole Miss, 2.5. Let's ride. I just don't think Arkansas Arkansas's got it in them this week, man. I think last week was their shot to do some things, but I think Ole Miss takes care of business pretty handily. Man,
well, this should be music to Cerveza's ears. I'm taking Wazoo to knock out the Arizona Wildcats. So a couple things to look at here. So last week, you can't tell me that we didn't get sucked into a different realm, to another dimension for the defense that Arizona played, the offense they played, completely out of characteristic for them. Because when you look at some of the stats here, Arizona is dead last in the nation in rush defense. Dead last. They're 126th in pass defense. Just horrific across the board. What's the golden rule? Spend always says, fade bad defenses. Their defense is horrific. When you look at Wazoo on the other side of things, pretty effective, 27th in their rushing efficiency. So I'm pulling all sorts of fancy stats here tonight, but they don't run it as well, or they don't run it as much as they potentially can. But basically, if they want to run it, if they want to throw it, they're going to have success either way. On Arizona, Jaden DeLora, this man is a turnover machine. This guy's got double-digit picks. He's got double-digit fumbles. He's got 30 turnover level plays on the season. Wazoo's going to roll in this one, -4.
The only thing that worries me is 0 points against Arizona State in the second half last week. But where is that game?
I believe it's up in the Palouse.
Well, I will certainly be pulling for you. All right. As I've expressed, do not trust my judgment right now. Couldn't be less confident. This is making the best of a bad situation. We've gone to the well a bunch with Liberty. I figured let's go one more time. There was a disappointing loss last week, but they had, they'd played BYU. They'd traveled to Arkansas. So I think they'd just kind of been through some things. They had to go up to Connecticut. They got beat. They're coming home. They're playing Virginia Tech. I'll be honest, I love playing them as a dog. We'll see how they do as a favorite. But Virginia Tech has just been terrible. 7 losses in a row. They got beat by Duke by 17. Again, with very little conviction. I'm going to take Liberty one more time. This is, I guess, their bowl game. I don't know what Virginia Tech's thinking. They might not even have a game next week, so I don't know how that plays on their psyche, depending if Virginia's gonna want to play the following week. So let's take the Flames and lay the 10.
Flames.
Love it.
All
right, boys, we're going out to the Mountain West one more time. Well, probably not the last time. We'll be back again next week. So couple things here. I think Boise has been a really good team the last month or so, ever since Cutter took over calling plays on offense, and they changed quarterbacks to Green. He's been really good. Another dominant win over Nevada. But one reason why I really like this win, you're going to Wyoming, so obviously that doesn't thrill me. It's not ever easy to go up to Laramie. I think the weather is going to touch 31 degrees. That's the high for the day, but it's not going to be windy. It's going to be a clear day. So don't have to worry about that. And Boise's used to that, right? So they're comfortable in those conditions. So that doesn't bother me as much. But the biggest reason why I like Boise this weekend at 14 is that Wyoming doesn't have a great offense as it is. They're okay. Nothing special. The quarterback's kind of middle of the road, but they had a bunch of injuries last week, and their win over Colorado State, a 14-13 win over Colorado State. Remember what I told you about Colorado State a little while ago, okay? The thing was, Peasley, their quarterback, got knocked out. He's in concussion protocol. So, again, this is all – it's a Wednesday pick. So, if he does get in position to play, maybe this changes my mind a little bit, but at this point, it doesn't look like he's coming back. So, they're starting quarterbacks out. They brought in a guy, Jaden Clemens, who was a walk-on quarterback when he came in, was running scout team last year. They had a lot of great things to say about how he ran the scout team. But again, maybe it's a great story and he comes in and he lights the world on fire. He did throw a touchdown against Colorado State to pull out the victory. But I'm going to take my chances with the best defense in the Mountain West in Boise against a quarterback that was running scout team a year ago, going against the best defense he's going to face in the first start he's ever made in this game. And I just don't think that Wyoming's defense, it's also missing a couple guys from last week too, that they're going to be banged up a little bit, that Boise should have much problem moving the ball. They're going to probably score, I would imagine, in the low 30s. I just don't think Wyoming can keep up. Like, I think Wyoming will be lucky to score 10 to 14 this week with the quarterback situation, kind of where they are, because their offense isn't good anyway. They played Colorado State last week and scored 14 points. So just give you an idea, once again, kind of where they are. And their offense hasn't been great recently anyway. But the other good thing about Boise, too, is they're facing a pass defense that hasn't been very good in Wyoming. And Boise, and Green's like a pretty good quarterback. He's not going to light the world on fire throwing the ball, although Wyoming's quarterback compared him to Josh Allen this week in the press conference. I think that was a little over the top, but I think like he's good enough to do some things. And what I like about what they've done the last month, they're averaging nearly 10 yards an attempt passing the ball the last 4 games. And they've been really consistent in that. They don't put up huge numbers, but they're really efficient. And I think they call a great game now, and they kind of get the most out of Green at quarterback. So I like Boise, again, to win this one big. Like, I was surprised. I locked it in last night because I thought this thing might go up to, it would go beyond 14 to probably 14 and a half, 15. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Peasley's announced to be out, like this thing goes beyond 17 probably at some point. Because, again, it's a former walk-on scout team quarterback. Could be a great story, but again, he's going against the best defense at home. Who cares? Give me Boise State to roll again and continue to play really good football.
I love it.
Money pick. I came up with a new show idea. Stick with me. KOD University presents Spin My Dollars Mountain West Conference Fireside Chats. About 23 minutes a week. He'll sit next to, a fireplace with like a cup of coffee or like a hot toddy or whatever, an Irish coffee. And he'll just tell us all this stuff, like Colorado State's terrible performance. It'd be great. It'd be awesome.
Man knows these boys out west.
I don't know how I got here.
He's nailing them.
I don't know how I got here this year. I think I locked into 1 or 2 bad teams, and then once you've been looking at them closely enough for a couple games, you're like, well, stick to what you know. So,
do you think we can get a Hawaii bet for or against before the end of the season?
Oh yeah, we've had some official bet. I don't know.
Yeah, I need a Hawaii lock.
We're gonna play Hawaii every week because it's our last run. Okay, UNLV at home. Just looking at it, pulled it up. They're getting 11 points at home against UNLV. I liked them last week. We got to cover last week against Utah State. Going on the island obviously is extremely difficult. UNLV is not a bad team, but their offense isn't great. 11 points is a lot, I think, for UNLV to go and lay. So I think Hawaii can I think they can score some points with UNLV. So yeah, we're taking Hawaii plus 11 this week. We're not making it a lock, and it's not necessarily a conviction, but it's, if you get tired of watching those Pac-12 matinee, those Pac-12 primetime games, let's fire up the Hawaii UNLV game and lock it in. Why not?
All right, guys. Will anybody got anything else before we dip out for the week?
I want to say something to Jigga while you're out there. I saw your secret Instagram, and I know that video y'all put out earlier is fake and that y'all are by the pool drinking Mai Tais. So, quit commenting on the show and go back to vacation. Y'all deserved it. Just go to vacation, man.
Hey, I think what they were doing was they were trying to decide whether they were going to renew this for season 2 is actually, I think, what they were watching us for.
That's funny because I heard they were trying to figure out if they're going to send us to the playoff this year or not. That's what I heard.
Hey, that sounds phenomenal.
Access pass, yeah.
For nothing like a little bit of bonus for all the hard work we've done this fall. So
that's right.
All right, guys, enjoy the weekend of college football. Let's have some fun. Peace.
Roll.